All right, now to the components of great energizers. So to remember the key characteristics of these energizers, I've come up with this very clever acronym, QSERVI. For the non-Norwegian speakers out there, kind of like me, this basically means we kiss. And so we begin with the K, kinetic. Energizers always involve movement, right? Regardless of if it's a small movement or if it's a massive movement, if it's a back and forth, if it's an up and down, if there's always movement involved, regardless of whether it's through your laptop or physically in a room. Kineticism, physical movement, is a key to powerful energizers. I'll be showing you exactly why that's the case. It's obvious, hopefully, by now that energizers energize. And so having that continuous movement from A to B and back to A is a critical characteristic of useful, powerful energizers. Point number 2, yes-mindedness. Right? Yes and comes from improv. Improv is a wonderful source for lots and lots of useful energizers. It basically means that as soon as we hear something offered to us, we receive it and we build on it, right? We're encouraged to grow on whatever is sent our way. One of the most powerful approaches to creativity is to have this yes-minded mindset where we're constantly building on the ideas of others. Academia, done well, is extremely creative, and we have this saying of standing on the shoulder of giants, taking the ideas of other really smart human beings like I do in this course and try to build on it, try to expand on it, try to jump on it and grow. And so really good energizers have this component of yes and. Thirdly, they're synchronous. What does that mean? Well, it means that they happen with other humans at the same time in the same place, right? They're highly presence oriented and they involve this continuous exchange of simultaneous kineticism, simultaneous yes and-ness. We're getting more used to exchanges that happen asynchronously, like online where you send an email and then you wait for 2 weeks to get another response. Energizers don't work that way. Energizers are this immediate feedback loop situation that keep everybody on their toes because they're not alone. They're synchronizing at really deep biological and physiological and psychological levels with other human beings. They're simple. I get really passionate about this because simplicity is what makes these things either work well or fall flat. People should not be feeling like they need to wrap their head around this tremendously difficult to understand instruction about an exercise that will last forever, that will challenge you at all kinds of levels intellectually and no. Energizers should be to the point, straightforward, easy to do. Something that a 7-year-old child can do. I do these on my daughter all the time. She freaking loves them. But I make sure to always describe them and simplify them to their key components, right? The hairier an energizer gets, the less impact it has. Energizers are embodied. As you can tell, I'm a highly embodied person. I'm making my whole room shake, right? Because that's the way that we find energy and we transfer energy. It's through the body. We're getting more and more used to being in our heads. That creates a lot of depression and anxiety and mental illness, but it also just simply creates this sense of one-sidedness to who we are as human beings. We need to learn how to get out of our heads, get out of the rumination, get out of the insecurities, get out of the over-analyzing, right? The analysis paralysis that I see all the time, particularly in corporations full of very, very brainy, smart people with all kinds of big degrees and start to drop into the body. Right? The body is a receptor of all kinds of wonderful things like emotions, our capacity to empathize with other humans, to understand one another through body and facial gestures, through non-verbal cues. So much stuff is going on in our quote-unquote meat bag that we forget about. And so Energizers force us to reconnect, to tap back into all those amazing sensations that our body is emitting to us all the time, and to use our bodies as this wonderful tool of communication and deep connection with our environment, our projects, our colleagues. It all happens inside of our bodies. Energizers are reciprocal. Similar to this yes and idea. Basically what it means is there needs to be give and take. There needs to be an exchange, a mutual exchange with other human beings. They're highly socialized exercises. Energizers are difficult to do alone, although you can, but they're not very special if you're alone. They become special when you engage another human being in the same experience. And so there's a very powerful exchange back and forth between other humans. And Energizers really bring that interdependence, that interconnection with one another to the foreground. We need to be vulnerable. We need to be willing to really bring of ourselves to others, right? We need to be willing to be raw and honest and authentic and genuine, whether it's by expressing certain feelings, whether it's by embracing our childhood spirit, whether it's by being foolish, whether it's by pushing the boundaries of our bodies, whether it's by being highly yes and oriented and not caring too much about what's actually being said or done, whether it's for many, many reasons, but it's this capacity to be unfiltered, to tell the world, take me as I am. Such a difficult thing to do, particularly for older dudes. I'm going to be talking more and more about the older dude phenomenon. The dude who hates Energizers, who rolls his eyes as soon as this crazy Mexican starts to request strange things from them. Why? Because they're not used to being vulnerable. Men are taught to keep their emotions inside, right? To show strength, particularly if they're leaders, right? Authority figures feel like they have to have the right answer all the time, that they need to operate under control, that they need to show this facade of constant and utter strength, of intelligence and dominance and control and vulnerability. You gotta let all that shit out for short periods of time, and that makes people feel extremely uncomfortable. And so that's why we are extremely incremental in our approach to Energizers. You can't ask people to do this immediately and profoundly and deeply and fluidly. As soon as you begin, you need to ease people into their vulnerability and their embodiment and their reciprocity and exchange, etc., etc. They're exercises that request a lot from individuals, and we need to be very, very conscious and very mindful that certain individuals need to be slightly more incremental, more gradual in the way that they embrace these exercises.